Welcome back to the show, everybody. The show that we talk about. What are we talking about? Your psychology, of course, but more specifically, what does that feel like? Really, what does having a well-regulated emotional system feel like? What does having a strong boundary feel like? No matter what happens to get wrong, you can get help from your inner resources. Put yourself in a potentially dangerous, fearful situation. Even if you don't, know exactly how to figure it out, know that on some level, you'll be able to manage it, no matter what happens to go wrong. You don't have to feel good through it. You don't have to be happy and cheerful and excited or anything like that. But you can know on some level that you can get through it. That's really why we manage our anxiety, why we assert our anger, why we develop a boundary so we can get to that place psychologically. So when your wife divorces you and takes all your money, you just have this little spark of confidence that says something to the effect of, I can get it back. Or if you're sitting home alone at a Friday night, you can't get a girl to go out with you, you know what? I can handle this. I can figure this out through managing my emotions, by working on how I manage my emotions in conjunction with my decisions. I can figure this out. I was just watching that old Futurama episode, Where the Buggalo Roam, where Amy gets kidnapped. And Amy was dating Kif, and then Bender says something to Kif. He makes him joke, like, oh, don't worry, Kif. You're bound to find some other rich and attractive girl who's going to love you as much as Amy did. And then he laughs at Kif, because obviously Kif's a dork. He's never going to find a girl like that again. And I remember watching that when I was a kid, or in high school, I guess. And I remember thinking, oh, yeah, what if you had a really attractive girlfriend and she left you, or she was kidnapped and you couldn't get her back? Like, your whole life would be ruined. Just felt this sick, empty feeling like, yeah, if you had a girlfriend like Amy who was attractive and had rich parents, like, that's it. Your life was made. And if you lost her, that was it. You couldn't. I remember thinking that and really feeling for Kif. But I just saw that episode a couple weeks ago, and I remember thinking, yeah, so what? Your girlfriend breaks up with you, your wife leaves you, takes all your money. Well, whatever happens, you can figure it out. Like, you can cultivate this sense of being that, no matter what happens to go wrong, I have my inner resources there. I don't need the girlfriend. It's nice. I don't need all the money. It's nice. But through my inner resources, I can get that stuff again. I'm home alone on a Friday night. Okay, I can figure this out. Just about managing my issues. That's really what we're talking about here on the show, is how do you get to that place? It comes from understanding your emotions and how they work specifically. I'd like to come on here and just tell you to be responsible and have discipline and figure out your mission. No, it's too high order. It doesn't work like that. How do we get to that place from which we have discipline and responsibility, and we have our purpose in life? That's more important than even being with a rich and attractive girl, however pleasant that may be. Also, we need to talk about fear, because it's Halloween. Oh, yeah, I'm recording this a day early, releasing this a day early. I'm going to be out of town this weekend, got a wedding to go to. But today is Halloween, the holiday in which we celebrate our fear. We actually have fun with fear. We put our fear on, we dress up in our fear and walk around, hopefully, if you're older than 13. Really, once you hit puberty, it's time to, once you hit puberty, you stop trick-or-treating, that's for sure. Any trick-or-treaters come to the door tonight looking like they're older than 13, not happening. I guess you can dress up and go to a party if you like having fun. If you're the kind of person who likes having fun and you don't just like to philosophize about Halloween, then I guess you can dress up in a costume and go to a party and have fun with your friends. If that's something that people tend to be into. But yeah, it's just like a realignment. That's what Halloween is. Like, if you don't see fear, if you don't see anxiety as fun, then you're wrong. And it's okay to be wrong. It's okay to feel terror with your anxiety. But also understand that it's fun. Oh, ride this ride at the amusement park. Because it's I'm afraid of doing that, so I'm not going to do it. Okay, fear is no longer fun. You're no longer growing. right? That's the anxiety problem, not the fact that you have anxiety. It's that you think anxiety is a problem. And Halloween is that holiday that comes around and just reminds us, yeah, it's not only not a problem, it's fun. You put your fear on, you wear it like Batman. And that's how you grow. Do you feel good all the time when you do that? I don't know, maybe not. Maybe, yeah, it's not about feeling good though. It's not about being positive. It's about how do you engage with reality the most or in the best way possible so that you can get to that place of how do I get help from my inner resources? I'm going to put myself in this situation I may not know how to handle, or I'm in this new situation that external circumstances put me in. My wife divorced me, took all my money. I'll get it back. It's all right. Don't have a girlfriend now, but I'll get one, right? That's the idea. And that's an intellectual point. Like, no, fear is fun. Get it? That's how you're supposed to feel about fear. But if you're not there now, you're not going to make yourself get to that place by just convincing yourself that fear is fun. I mean, little perspective shifts can maybe help 5 or 10%, but ultimately you got to manage your anxiety until you start to just live in it and just be part of it and live in it and get used to it and get acclimated to it. And then once you do that enough, the fear becomes excitement. It becomes fun. And there's always going to be new challenges, that are maybe more anxiety provoking than whatever was, than whatever you were dealing with before. But again, that anxiety feeling, even if it's new challenge, the anxiety feels the same way. So you get more and more used to just sitting with that feeling. Again, like the analogy, like if you're going to lose weight, you're going to need to be hungry. People hear that and they go, oh, I hate being hungry. No, but when you become more comfortable with being hungry, your relationship with the hunger changes. And now it's no longer, oh, I'm hungry, I need to have a Snickers bar. It's, okay, this is just a sign that I'm on the right track. It's just my body doing something, telling me to eat something, but I don't need to. It's actually a sign I'm getting healthier. And you kind of start to understand. You start to relate with the hunger in a different enough way. It's like, oh, this is me being healthy. Now, you can get into anorexia with that, but I mean, anorexia rates are so small that if you're anorexic, then that's a different problem. But that's really the point of Halloween. And when you see kids walking around in their Halloween costumes, it's like, oh yeah, this is fun, relax. I know it's not typically comfortable all the time, but it's fun, relax. And when you see a 13-year-old kid come to your door, he's just wearing street clothes and a mask, like, dude, get out of here. You gotta be kidding me. But yeah, it's just about understanding things emotionally versus intellectually. I mean, it's really easy to understand issues intellectually. That's what we do in the unconscious map. I can break down your entire life essentially to an emotional loop. And it's really helpful. Like, okay, here's the same loop you've been going through in a bunch of different situations. It seems like you have all these different problems. You don't. You have one problem that gets carried out in different ways in different situations. That's the idea of abstraction. How do I make sense of all this seemingly disparate information? It's what pretty much no therapist does ever. This is the only therapist that does that. But, there's still that issue of how do you connect with that emotionally? That you can understand on some level that fear is fun, but how do you really get to feel that? That's really the point of, I guess I would say, therapy in general. I mean, that's the point of psychoanalysis. That's it's like ground penetrating radar, right? Like you can use ground penetrating radar and you can see what's underneath the ground. And let's say, you're looking at the raptor in the beginning of Jurassic Park. You can see it. It's there. That's going through one-on-one therapy. That's intellectualizing your problem. Super important to do. You have to see where the problem is, what it looks like, and where to start digging. But that's not digging to the problem. That's not digging to the problem. That's not becoming emotionally aware of the problem. That's not acting out the problem. So, very common I see with guys all the time is, I know a bunch of guys who know everything there is to know about women and picking up women and how to text a girl, but they don't act that out. Once they get a girl that's even a little bit interested in them, just all that information goes out the window. They get it intellectually, not emotionally. And this happens a lot with people who are going through trauma, people who are abused physically, sexually. They know intellectually they're not responsible for what happened to them, but they still act like it because they're running away from it. Because let's say it's a girl who was physically abused. Now she's going to go out and date guys who are physically abused to reenact that, to justify the fact that she is at fault for being traumatized when she was 10. But she can get it intellectually. She knows that it's not her fault, that it wasn't her responsibility, the fact that she was physically, sexually abused when she was 10. Yeah, so that's the real question. I mean, you got the ground penetrating radar there. That's easy. But how do you actually dig to the raptor bones and unearth them without disturbing the bones? Well, I guess that's where the analogy breaks down, because you don't have to. It's just about unearth. In your psychology, you just got to unearth it and bring it up to the surface. And like a vampire in light, the symbol of narcissism, the symbol of using your emotions in a destructive way, helplessness with your anxiety, like your Aunt Bertha, hostility with your anger, like your Uncle Vinny. That's what the vampire represents. And what happens with the vampire light is it just kind of dies, it goes away. And that's what happens with your neurosis. That's what happens when you dig up your emotional raptor bones instead of putting it in a museum. Wait, I think now that the analogy is getting traction again. Yeah, you put it in a museum and say, look at this thing that we understand we can study. We can study it to such an extent we can put it in a museum and learn more about our life by studying these raptor bones that are 100 million years old, whenever raptors lived. Yeah, so what's the way to do? So how do you dig, right? How do you dig from the intellect to the emotion, from your head to your heart? That's just about honesty, communication, openness, developing relationships, a lot of different relationships with a lot of different people, which we'll get to. I think of, there's those empty chambers, or there are those, I don't know. Well, we don't know if they're empty, right? We don't know what's in them, but in the Great Pyramid at Giza, there's those chambers that we can see. I think it's not ground penetrating radar. It wouldn't be that. It's some sort of heat detection camera. And you can see empty chambers, or mostly empty. There's some sort of cavernous chamber in the Great Pyramid. And we've known this for a while. Oh, no, now I'm thinking of, I'm thinking of the chamber beneath the Sphinx. We just found out about the empty chamber in the Great Pyramid. Yeah, I guess this will work better. Yeah, because then you do use ground penetrating radar to realize that there's an empty chamber underneath the Sphinx. Okay, what's in it? And you know what? We've known this for at least 25 years. That there's this chamber down there. I think it's maybe 10 or 15 feet below the surface of one of the paws, left or right paw. The front paw. But nobody goes in there because it's so difficult working with the Egypt Ministry of Antiquities or whatever it is. And, it's like there's a lot of secrecy going around there. And you have to get all these permits to do anything archaeological in Egypt at all. And you have to know the right people and all this. That's the opposite of going from your head to your heart, from the intellect to the emotion, from understanding that you're not responsible for the trauma and then living that out like you're not responsible. A lot of secrecy, a lot of lack of communication, a lot of people being duplicitous with you, saying one thing, doing the other. You bring one permit to them and they go, oh, you didn't know about this other permit? Bureaucracy in a sense. That's what's keeping us from finding out what's in that chamber beneath the Sphinx that we've known about for a long time. And that's what's going to keep you from, once you understand your emotional issue, once you understand your emotional issue intellectually, that's what's going to keep you from not living it. That's what's going to keep you, reading all these pickup books and, these gurus and I know all this about women. Okay, you don't have a girlfriend. You don't have 3 girlfriends. because you're not digging. You're not honest. You're not creating connections. You're not building relationships. You're not seeing who you are in the context of other relationships. Really, you're not developing honesty. You're not going to group, of course, not just my group, but any group. That's where you really develop this muscle through which you can do that. You're not talking about the issue in a lot of different ways. You go, oh, I got it. Oh, I know I got this issue. Oh, that's how you text girl. Oh, I got it. I understand. No, you're not hearing the words come out of your mouth. That the words about the real issue, the real anxiety that you have around women and how you're responsible for it. You don't do that. Maybe because you don't want to look weak. And that's a totally understandable fear. You don't want to look weak talking about your emotions. Well, there's a way to talk about your emotions that doesn't not only does it not make you weak, but it makes you strong and way more aware of your emotion than you ever would have been talking about it in a weak way. I would argue talking about emotions in a weak way doesn't really make you aware of your emotions very well. Maybe you lack a proper understanding of emotions and what they are and what their purpose is. Okay, that's why I'm here. There's a solution to this now. There's a solution. Okay, we know the chamber is there underneath the Sphinx. Now, here it is. Here's the solution. Here's how we get rid of the bureaucracy that is a lot of information out there on your psychology, like Jocko Willink telling you to have discipline or Jordan Peterson telling you to be responsible. That is bureaucratic psychology. That doesn't really help. They're right. Have discipline. Be responsible. But psychologically, they're wrong because that's a philosophical solution, not a psychological one. They're telling you what to do, not how to do it. And until you can understand why somebody who knows to have discipline, let's say, and they aren't disciplined, so you can understand why they wouldn't be disciplined, and you don't revert back to just calling them weak or, oh, there's just something wrong with you, or, oh, you just must not care. Until you can explain it on an emotional and decisional level, then you don't understand the how. But that's what we learned about here. So I guess problem solved. And yeah, a big part of this is reaching out to other people and building relationships with other people. And I think this is a problem that especially smart guys have, especially intellectual guys have. I get questions somewhat similar to this, or this is at least part of emails I get. Not all the time, but it comes up enough. Oh yeah, and then I got a question from a listener on Twitter about this last week. So I'm going to talk about this and just the importance of talking with other people and reaching out and connecting. Yeah, so a trap that smart guys fall into is, other people are just kind of stupid. So I'm not going to be able to really learn anything from them anyway, or I can't get along with other people because I have all these intellectual pursuits. I have all these intellectual pursuits that a lot of other guys aren't that interested in, so I'm not going to make the effort to reach out. Oh yeah, that's what the tweet was. It was something about you can tell the extent to which you want to grow by how interested you are in other people. And it's really easy to fall into this trap, especially if you're smart, especially if you're into recondite subjects, like you read philosophy or I don't know. I mean, if you're watching this, if you're listening to this, probably this explains you to some degree. Probably not a dummy. And it's easy to fall into the trap of, I'm not going to go out. I'm not going to reach out. I'm sitting at a bar waiting for my friend. I'm not going to talk to the guy next to me. Oh, because what's the point? We're not going to be into the same thing. I'm probably smarter than he is. And that could all be true. But I'm just, the challenge here is to see those excuses as simply that. They're excuses. They are a reflection of reality to some degree. They could all be correct. But if they're keeping you from talking with that guy next to the bar while you're waiting for your friend, then they are excuses, right? They are closing you off. It's really important to understand, no matter how smart you are, no matter how much better you are than other people, let's say you are the moral giant that you think you are, you still got to reach out. Everybody knows something that you don't know. I mean, that's really important. Be interested in other people. Ask them questions about themselves. And even if they don't know anything, Like you can still relate with them. Like you still have the same emotional experience. This is the process of individuation that a lot of people misunderstand. They think it's, just about developing into your own individual. Yeah, that's true. It is about that, but it's also at the same time, as you're developing into an individual, as you're becoming unique, at the same time, you recognize how much like everybody else that you are. Going from your head to your heart, going from ground penetrating radar to actually digging up the bones or looking in that chamber beneath the Sphinx. Yeah, go to therapy. I mean, go to Animus group for that. Obviously, we'd love to have you. It's going to help you out a lot. But just little connections, throughout the day. I don't know, somebody at the bus stop, anything. Just reaching out and asking people, like, what's going on with them? How's your day? What are you into? What are you interested in? Why are you interested in that? Oh, fishing? Well, I've never been fishing in my life. But you know something else? Yeah, everybody knows something that you don't. And also, all knowledge is connected. So some guy's talking about fishing. How does that relate with you? How does that relate with, your profession? How does fishing relate with architecture? Seriously. I mean, I'm sure there's some relation. What is it about? The engineering of tying a line to a lure or something. I don't know that much about fishing. That has something to do with how you build staircases, the plumb bob and how it pulls on the line, and how that's very similar to this one kind of staircase design. I don't know, something. But you can imagine how it could be similar. So you are learning about yourself, you're relating with other people. And it's really important to do. And it's something that, smart, analytical guys, right? The guys who need it the most, the smart, analytical guys who need it the most are always doing the disconnecting thing. Or they're not going to understand. Or, well, I could bring up this point, but they're not going to be interested in it. Yeah, maybe they won't be. Well, that's part of your challenge in connecting. Is how do you take who you are and communicate with other people? That's what your personality is. That's personality development. You keep developing it throughout your entire lifespan. It's two parts. It's, becoming aware of your psyche, becoming aware of your unconscious, integrating it into your psyche. And then the second part is, how do you communicate that to other people? And the better you can do that, the easier it's going to be to go from the ground penetrating radar to the velociraptor bones. And just everything in life is going to be so much easier. You're going to see fear as, fun. You're not going to have to wait till Halloween to see fear as, this is a fun thing that you put on and you wear. And if nothing else, right, just relating with people and what they're going through and feeling the discomfort of it. There's also the discomfort of just sitting in there with somebody else and asking them what they're going through. Let's say you're at a party. Go around and ask everybody what they're interested in or what they're doing right now. I think it's a little bit better question than like what's your job, which I think is a fine question. And listen, when people start to talk to you, there's admit it. Admit that there's discomfort there. Admit that you feel it in your body. Your body is your brain. Admit that it's there. And just becoming comfortable with that, comfortable seeing them. You're more and more comfortable seeing yourself. Each is just a reflection of the other one. Yeah, man, it's so easy. It's just so easy to go through life not talking to people, not connecting, not being interested, and thinking, well, I'm smarter than them, so what's the point? And it, gets tricky because you may be correct. You could, in fact, be objectively smarter than they are. But that's not the point. The point is each person is full of information and it's there. And they want to talk about it. This is why I think, college gets a bad rap, and there's obviously huge problems with skyrocketing costs because of administration, whatever. So there needs to be a change to college. But now people are going around talking about, we need to throw college out. No, that's the stupidest thing in the world. No. College needs to change, but it doesn't mean to throw it out just because there's this one problem not working with it right now. The thing about college is that there's like you are in a room of people who are into the same thing that you're into. That's the wealth, right? I mean, that's going to be way more useful to you. The books in the library, obviously, that's useful too. But so yeah, that's why I say you can tell the extent that you want to grow to the extent that you're interested in other people. I get it. It's a pain in the butt. You don't want to do it. What, you think I go around super interested in everybody all the time? No, but you know what? I'm going to be at a wedding this weekend and I'm going to know some people there. I'm not going to know everybody, but yeah, you better believe whoever's sitting next to me at this wedding, get ready because I'm going to be interested in you and I'm going to be asking questions. Is it annoying? Is it uncomfortable? Ah, too bad. Too bad for me and for you. That's why we're there. All right, and I got one more issue here that I wanted to talk about. This new book's coming out, The Meritocracy Trap by David Markovitz or Dan Markovitz. There's just one of these books every couple of years, right? Like, hey, meritocracy, not that great. Oh, there's all these issues in meritocracy. Oh, you're so wedded to this idea of meritocracy. Well, guess what? I'm going to take this idea and turn it upside down and show you how it's not that great. There was a bunch of books back in the aughts about this. I mean, I think there's still books about this coming out, but I think one of them is something about the paradox of choice or how, hey, you think living in this capitalist economy is so great and we have all these choices. Oh, you can go to the, CVS and there's all these different kinds of toothpaste and you think this is good, having a choice. Actually, it's really bad. Yeah, well, actually, it's really bad. And having a lot of choices causes you more anxiety, and this is really the reason why you're feeling whatever psychological issue it is that you're feeling. And this is what this guy, Dan Markovitz, is doing with meritocracy. I don't know. It's just like these blog posts, it's going to be 300 pages and you're going to get done reading and think, okay, this could have been a 1,200 word blog post. But I think this is just a great thing to talk about and how this guy supposedly deconstructs meritocracy, because what this is, it's a microcosm for neurosis. And the example that I chose to use here is a guy with a relationship problem. Right? A guy getting frustrated, he has a girlfriend, he has a wife, they're not communicating, but he doesn't really know that they're not communicating. He just understands that he's frustrated and he's feeling more and more distant from this girl, either wife or girlfriend, and he doesn't know what to do. And so what do most guys do who don't really understand relationships or how to connect? What's he going to do? He's going to go online. He's going to read, oh, look, there's 50% of marriages end in divorce. Oh, maybe this isn't meant to work out anyways. Oh, look at this evolutionary psychology. Oh, look, it's science. Evolutionary psychology tells you that men prefer to have multiple sexual partners. Oh, so that's why I'm having a difficult time in this relationship. That's why I feel frustrated. Oh, because we live in this society where people get divorced all the time. Oh, look, men aren't meant to be monogamous anyway. So we take this thing, and instead of actually understanding what it is, instead of understanding what the problem is, I have this girlfriend, I'm not connecting with her, I'm not communicating with her. I'm tuning out emotionally. I'm sorry. I'm just looking at my dog. I think there's this cord running across the room now. Now she feels trapped. That's what my dog just did is what this Dan Markovitz guy is doing with meritocracy. Are you trapped now? Because there's this cord, you can easily duck under the cord, but all you see is this little cord and you go, oh, well, look, see, I can't get by. And that's what we do with relationships. Oh, there's a little bit of frustration. You just blow this up to be something way more than it is. For what? For the payoff. If you're criticizing meritocracy and then pointing to the admissions scandal, the USC admissions scandal, if you're criticizing meritocracy and pointing to this one instance in where meritocracy didn't work, if you're And if you're focusing on, oh, look, the only people who get into Yale Law School come from wealthy backgrounds, so I'm just going to assume that it's the parents' wealth that got them into Yale Law School, nothing else, no other confounding variables. I'm just going to look at the sliver of this issue and then extrapolate that out to affirm my ideology. He's a socialist, probably. Well, he does talk about like because meritocracy is a myth, we do need to, fund more social programs. I don't know if he's a socialist, but again, tends to go in that direction, which I'm not opposed to, by the way. It's just, are you going to do it in the right way? He's probably not. And this is what neurosis is. This is what we do all the time. And this is what the guy does when he's trying to, when he's feeling frustrated with his wife or girlfriend. It's like, oh, there's this one issue, I'm going to blow it up to be bigger than it is for the ultimate purpose of isolation, of being alone. Those are very addictive. I don't know if it's a drug. I mean, yeah, sure, it's a drug, but it's whatever, emotional cocktail that we feel when we are isolated, when we are alone. Maybe it's just sadness, self-pity, self-righteousness. Any powerful emotional state can be addictive. And we think, we're being smart about relationships when we get frustrated with our girlfriend, when we grow disconnected from her, which we know happens naturally. And we think we're being intellectual when we go online and we say, oh, well, look, it's, just marriage is difficult and this just is happening with us. I don't need to look at this any deeper. Because why? Because you have your agenda. That is your social policy agenda. That is your being isolated agenda. My dog's agenda, which is not going out in the rest of the apartment because, oh, there's just one little extension cord across where my face is, so I'm not even going to try. Yeah. I guess we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. I didn't have too much to say about this, but yeah, whenever life isn't working out well, whenever you're looking at meritocracy and deconstructing it and not replacing it with anything better, just look for the payoff. Look at why you really want to do it. The other thing about this is, meritocracy, it's not even a thing. Like, it's just a process. Like, you're criticizing a process by which we award people for doing a good job. So you're not even criticizing meritocracy. It's a total misnomer. It's a conflation is what it is. You're not even criticizing what you're ultimately criticizing. You're criticizing the values of this meritocracy. Well, that's not criticizing meritocracy. You don't throw out meritocracy just because in this one instance of the USC admissions scandal, they had different values applied to the meritocracy. That's all. I don't know. There's just this huge problem with academics. This guy's an academic, and they take their instance. I see this in psychology a lot. They take their condition, their environment of academia, of zero sum. If some people get admitted to this program, then other people can't get admitted to this program. Zero sum. If I get this grant money, then somebody else can't get this grant money. Zero sum. And they take this view of academia and project it out onto the world, and then they come up with some sort of, at least, socialism-leaning kind of policy, which what Dan Markovits does. And I see it all the time. Like, you're just, yeah, socialism maybe makes sense in academia, but that's just the world you're in. That's just the world that you've been in since you were 22. But it doesn't apply to other instances. Another instance of neurosis, exactly. It's the same thing. Oh, well, here's where this one relationship didn't work out. Here's where my relationship with my previous girlfriend didn't work out. So I'm not going to investigate why it didn't work out, but I'm going to take that out, blow it up, and apply it to the relationship that I'm in now. And oh, this isn't going to work out for the same reason because girls are A, B, and C, and there's just this inherent frustration, and I'm not going to deal with it. It's too difficult. Look at the divorce numbers. Look at the alimony numbers, MGTOW. getting rid of meritocracy just because there's some issues is kind of like a MGTOW for this this essential system. Like, how else would you award people in society? What else would it be if it wasn't meritocracy? It would just be, just blanket awards given out, not based on merit, just based on existing. How does that work out? If there's a problem with the meritocracy, question what's meritable. It's the value behind what's the meritocracy more than anything else. Nobody says, no rich guy says that I got rich by hard work alone, I didn't have any help, and there was no luck involved. Whenever you hear rich guys talk about what got them to be rich, everybody admits, I mean, in the last 30 years, as long as I've been alive, at least, like, it would be such a faux pas to say I got rich by just hard work, had nothing to do with luck at all. So anybody who isn't as rich as I am means they're not as hardworking. That was the villain in the Joker movie, which I saw it. I don't know if I'm going to say that much about it. I mean, yeah, I guess some of my predictions were correct. Some were correct, but not in the way that I thought they were going to be. Anyways, doesn't matter. Maybe I'll talk about that in the Brazen Heads. There won't be a Brazen Heads this week because, again, I'm going to be out of town. But that's just been such a faux pas for such a long time in America, which I don't have a problem with. I mean, if some guy gets rich because of hard work and that's what he thinks, and who cares? Whenever rich guys talk about how they get rich, it's always, well, this is what I did. This is what helped me. And you know what? There's a lot of information there. Now, is that going to get you as rich as Bill Gates? No, but that's not the point anyways. And if you're trying to get as rich as Bill Gates, and if you come into, okay, I'm going to read Bill Gates' book and get as rich as he is, and if I don't, then there's a problem with meritocracy, which is implied by Dan Markovits, then you don't really care about the meritocracy. You don't really care about improving your life. Really what you do is care about justifying your jealousy, your envy, and your anxiety. Again, payoff. But that's neurosis. You have a poorly conceived conception of this one issue, frustration with my girlfriend, with my wife, not digging in deeper to what really creates a strong bond between the two of us? What do we really need to work on? How do I need to start communicating with my wife? And then you go out and you find statistics, you find evidence, you find data to justify your lack of understanding of the issue. And the reason you do that is, I would argue, for some kind of payoff. Ideological payoff with Dan Markovits. Emotional payoff of isolation, self-pity, self-righteousness. With breaking things off with your girlfriend. Not that you can't break up with your girlfriend. Obviously, if there's a problem that you're working on and you can't solve it, and it's been that way for 6 months, and it's not going to, okay, then that's a different situation. So yeah, just see a lot of overlaps there of, reason is great. Scientific method and being reality oriented. Oh, it's really helpful. But until you can manage your emotions and until you understand where maybe dysregulated issues are affecting you outside of your awareness, good luck with reason. Good luck with any sort of enlightened values that you will intellectually agree with. If you don't get it emotionally, right? If you can't dig down to the chamber beneath the Sphinx, when you know what's there, then it's not going to matter. All right, thank you guys. We'll leave it there. Like and subscribe. Ask me a question. Animus at animusempire.com. I'm starting to do those Q&A videos again. So getting those going. And I'll leave it there, pain, joy and pain that comes from being in touch with reality. And have an excellent weekend.